The word death appears too frequently in the lives of contemporary young people. It seems to have become not the primary source of human fear. But when you truly have to face death, can you still remain so calm? Limu was pushed into the operating room by a group of doctors. At that moment, he only had one feeling: discomfort. But what's strange is that there is no feeling of fear. The lead surgeons, faced with such a young life on the verge of withering away, they racked their brains to fight with death for this life. They used all means at their disposal. CPR, defibrillator, everything that could be used was employed. They applied 2 chest compressions to Limu's heart. Unfortunately, one's fate is not determined by oneself, as the electrocardiograph no longer showed any activity. The lead surgeons also knew that they were powerless to turn the situation around. They stood there for a long time in silence, regretting that they were unable to snatch this young life from the hands of death. Limu's consciousness kept sinking. He seemed to realize that he was about to die. But the heaviness in his mind made him feel like he was falling into an abyss. He was powerless to resist anything, only allowing his consciousness to sink deeper and deeper. He didn't know how long had passed. It seems like 1,000 years pass in the blink of an eye. One day, he suddenly heard some noise. Limu slowly opened his eyes slightly. He felt his body light and floating. Did he come to the world after death? Immediately, he heard someone say, "Don't leave. Just bury him here." How did Limu die? He's so young. He hasn't even gotten married yet. But just as they were talking nonstop, Limu, who was lying on the tattered straw mat, suddenly moved a bit. And then he got up and began to crawl. Limu unconsciously spoke up and asked, "May I ask?" But he didn't finish his sentence. The 2 people instantly froze in place. Goosebumps instantly covered their bodies. Then, they both screamed out loud. They quickly ran away. Limu scratched his head, feeling a little confused. Just then, it seemed like his head was about to be torn apart. Countless pieces of information flooded in at this moment. Zhou Nation, Yangqiu City, Limu, Constable, and so on. A large amount of information that did not belong to him surfaced. It was so painful that Limu felt like he was close to death. After a long time, Limu digested those memories. He seemed to realize that he had been reborn. And the owner of this body is also called Limu. It's just that this body now belongs to a different Limu. Limu tried singing, dancing, and rapping. Oops, oops. After singing, "You're beautiful like a chicken," oops. Limu happily discovered that his body had become much stronger than before. But suddenly, Limu became distressed again. Where should I go now? At this moment, a sudden wail appeared behind him. Curiously, Limu leaned closer. Limu discovered that a small fox had accidentally been caught in a trap. Limu intended to step forward to help it out of its predicament. Unfortunately, animals have a naturally cruel nature. They fundamentally do not trust Limu, the human. With bared teeth, they want to scare away the person in front of them. Limu reassured, saying, "Don't worry, I won't hurt you." Then, step by step, he approached the trap on its leg. With a click, it rang out. The little fox quickly jumped out. After she had walked far away, she turned back and said, "Thank you, young master, for saving my life." Limu subconsciously waved his hand and said, "Don't mention it. It's not a big deal." But as he spoke, he suddenly froze in place. The more he thought about it, the more uneasy he felt. Was that the fox speaking just now? Immediately, he let out a loud cry. He started running wildly as he took a step forward, until a quarter of an hour had passed. Limu panted and came to a stop. He needed to quickly find a place with people. But autumn is a time of many events. Suddenly, a group of people appeared in front of Limu. The leader. That's the infamous demon leader. The leading woman pointed at the sword handle with one hand and shouted, "How dare you, you demon! You dare to occupy the county office in the absence of the officials. Leave immediately."
Limu instantly panicked.
"What demon are you talking about? It's not me." He had a strong sense of impending disaster. This is not good. He thought about the incoming trouble. The woman also stopped talking nonsense. She drew out her sword directly. And then, with a calm expression, she spoke, "Don't move. Limu, make a move. What are you going to do?" But then the woman shouted loudly and pointed her sword at Limu. In an instant, a pure energy enveloped his entire body. After a moment, Limu's body was emitting white vapor, almost blinded by the dazzling light. Just when he couldn't understand what the person in front of him was doing, the woman spoke again. "Just need to confirm. Who are you?" Limu awkwardly pointed at himself, as if making sure he was being asked again, but he still subconsciously said, "Yangqiu City's Constable Limu." Then the woman pointed to herself again. "What about me?" Limu gave a straightforward answer this time. "Li Qing is the leader." He then continued before Li Qing could ask, saying, "I don't remember those 2 men behind you."
No impression.
Li Qing took out a gossip plate again and aimed it at Li Mu. Look at this. Li Mu looked over in confusion. Suddenly he realized that the face of this body was quite handsome. But other than that, there was no other reaction.
Li Qing siga.
No problem. If 3 Hun is separated from the body for too long, it will lose some of its memories. Then she waved her hand and said, rest at home for these few days.